Hey, what's going on, everybody? Joe Menza here, and I thought I'd do something a little different today. I'm taking an already existing painting, and what I'm doing is I'm not happy with the sky. Now, some of you may look at it and you might like the sky, but I'm going to show you. This had been drying for a day, and I'm going to show you just some different ways you can maybe make some changes to something. Variety of ways. In this case here, now I'm showing you can turn it over, turn it upside down. This way you don't have to worry about any paint running into, your mountains or foregrounds or what have you there. And you can wet this down, and you can either lighten it or you can wet it with the idea that you can add more to it. In this case here, I'm going to try lightening it to some degree, and we'll see how that looks. Obviously, we have the tree here. You want to be a little bit careful, although you can go over the tree again. Now, some people might like the drama of the sky that was there. For me, particularly, I didn't like it. I thought the darkness of it took away from the mountain range. It just tonally didn't work for me. Ordinarily, I do like drama in the paintings. Here what I'm doing is I'm just taking a paper towel and just doing a little dabbing on it. Now, you could leave it like this. This would be a fine point to stop. You could leave it like this, or what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit it with a little bit of a spray bottle, just doing some experimentation, dabbing it a little more with a cloth. Some of this just to show you what can actually be done with it. And you can dab with the cloth and create some little cloud-like patterns within there. Now again, you could stop really at this point and let this dry, and this probably would be okay at this point if you wanted a sky that wasn't as prominent as when I had started. And you can add a little moisture to the tissue, and you can dab a little bit more off, as much as you want. This is just to show you sort of the flexibility of something. If there's an area, if there's a quadrant of something you like the rest, but you don't like a certain section, what can you do with that particular area? Okay, so what else can we do with this area now? I'm going to take my Hake brush, give this area a little bit more of a spray. Now, some papers you have to be careful. Some papers might not be as receptive. This is a 140-pound Fabriano Studio. It's 25% cotton. Yours might be a little more or less resistant to change. Now, what I've done here is I've taken some purple color, a little alizarin and ultramarine. Actually, I think I used a color called Moon Glow in this case, and I added a little white to it to sort of kill, I don't know, to make it a little creamier, I guess. And we'll see kind of how that looks. And I've come a little too close to the mountain range there. And just by actually adding a little paint and washing it down, now here I'm just to hold on 1 second of that thought, just a little bit darker of paint. And I've come a little too close to that mountain. I'll show you how to maybe rectify that. There's just no space for light there at all, so that's just totally not going to work. There will be times you try to fix something and you will wish you're better off left it alone. But we'll work through a few different things here, and we'll see what some options are. Now we can take the wet Hake brush and we can work it through this area to reveal the light areas again. And you can see that being fresh, that came out pretty well. Re-wet the Hake. And we're just basically washing off that area on top. See, bringing that light back in, I prefer that. And you can work that into the clouds, lift it up, bring it up. I'm not real super thrilled with that dark purple effect on top. A little bit of trial and error here, just kind of wetting things a little bit. So with that, just wetting in a little bit more until I get something I'm happy with. As long as you keep it wet and keep it open, you can kind of keep working with it. Some skies, I mean, you can really ruin, so it's sometimes better left alone. In this case, the color is a little bit more flexible. Again, this is 25% cotton paper. 100% cotton paper might not be as flexible. You might have to use more water. You know, your mileage may vary. Okay, so again, I'm coming in with that purple with the I think I used a little Chinese white here. You can use white gouache too. White gouache is just, I think it's got more titanium white in there, I believe. It's less transparent than Chinese white. I believe that's what I read. So here overall, it's not too bad. And again, you can leave it like this. I think this would be acceptable, but we're going to fuss it a little bit more here, just for the sake of the video. Coming back in, I've got an alternate tray here. I'm just mixing up a little bit more purple color. Just washing that down a little bit again, lightening it up, getting it a little creamier with the white in there. The problem, I think, is it almost matches too close. You should use the same colors in the sky sometimes, but maybe in water. But for the mountains, they're almost like kind of competing with each other. So I'm going to dab a little bit more out here. We're just kind of spinning our wheels a little bit, but trying to be careful around that tree. Again, trying to keep that light above the mountain there. I think that's important. So I let that dry a little bit. I'm going to come back now. And I think what we're going to do is, when you're really not happy with your sky, or it's a little too apparent, another option you can do is you can actually put in some trees. So let me try, I'm going to put a little bit of white over the top of this. I just want to lighten this a little bit more. Kind of a milky white substance here. Just a little bit of Chinese white and just water. I just don't want that sky being as more prominent than the mountain area. And see, now that we have that on there, when it dries back, you'll see it's lighter than that mountain area. Okay, long pause there, sorry. I'm just gonna enhance a little bit of these mountains a little bit with a little bit of that same creamy purpley color. I'm just gonna make those stand out. There's just a little too much white in there. Just increase that a little bit and go back to my regular palette. You don't really want to use white in anything unless you're really done with that spot, because if you go back with another color, that white will reactivate, which I'm okay with happening here. I'm just adding a little bit more of the ultramarine color and just defining that mountain a little bit. So I want that to stand out more so than the sky. just keeping it wet with a little spray. Just taking the hake, trying to work around. Don't want to affect too much of the other stuff that's there. Give it a little spray so that it kind of blends into the area below, and dab it with a little cloth. Just so it just blends into the mountain, the base of the mountain area, or hills. And now you can see that the little tips of the mountains or hills play off of the light area a little better, I think. And then we have that lighter, creamier purple on top in the cloud area, and they're not so much fighting each other anymore. Okay, so now that that's had a little bit of a chance to dry, what I'm going to do now is I'm taking a little bit of ultramarine blue, cad yellow hue, and I'm got a semi-dry hake brush. I'm just going to make some leaves coming off from the side, and that should push back the mountains and sky into the distance. As soon as I did that, you can see that now the mountains and the sky are further back. A little bit of Payne's gray mixed in just to darken it toward the center. This created a foreground area and pushed back everything. Just dabbing in a little of that same color in the foreground. And you know what I liked? I liked that to the point to where I'm just going to put this on this other tree. Hopefully I don't shock anyone. Someone says, I really like that bare tree, but it's a little too Halloween looking. So I'm going to tap on some leaves and really help push that back. And now notice how irrelevant that sky is. It's just in the middle, and a lot of the work what we did is really irrelevant. But you'll notice the way that that looks like. It's just a subtle sky now with some light below it. And I like that a lot better. Anytime you have a bad sky and everything else is good, you can always put some trees, put some leaves in front, and you know, you're hiding sort of that area, or you're making that area less relevant in the painting. Just some darker ultramarine with some Payne's gray, and we're just going to dab in a little extra color here. And I think that's a winner for me. Some of you, like I say, might have preferred the other way. I'm just taking a little yellow ochre here and just highlighting some areas. Yellow ochre and cad yellow and lemon yellow, you can go over the top when you're supposed to go from dark to light or light to dark. You can still get some color in there. It's a nice little accent. So that's really it. I hope you guys enjoyed this painting. Or not painting necessarily, but how to sort of make changes or corrections to a painting where there's an area, something you don't like. I try to come up with different subject matters to keep things interesting. If you like this video, comment and subscribe. So here's what it would have looked like had I not put the leaves in. And here is the finished painting. Thanks for watching, everybody.